This is Rob Schneider. You're watching 17 News. You're doing it.
Actor-comedian Rob Schneider, you know him perhaps as Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo, sat down with 17 News to talk about the world of politics, comedy, and Hollywood. He sat down with me, Robert Price, on January 23rd.
So that I don't have to formulate thoughtful questions, maybe I could just throw like some single words at you.
Sure.
So, Hollywood.
Yes. Well, it certainly is not far from Bakersfield, but it is far from Bakersfield. Emotionally, physically, not too far, but yeah, what happens there doesn't, thankfully, doesn't have too much of an impact here, which is good. You know, the culture's downstream from entertainment, but it's an interesting time right now, and I think Bakersfield doesn't necessarily have as much in common with Hollywood as you would imagine, but it's awesome. It's amazing to have this. What it does have in common with Hollywood, Bakersfield still has one of these most beautiful theaters that exists, the Great Fox Theater. Every town in America, every city had a Fox Theater, and I don't know if there's 10 more left. And thankfully, you guys have one, and it's a charitable organization, because we have to have the arts. I mean, what good is a city if you don't have arts? And it's just a big enough theater that you can get great artists and bands to come, and comedians like myself who can come and entertain and have fun and talk about the culture. And as much as AI is here, and as much as you can watch movies on your phone and Netflix, there's something about being in the same room with people next to you, having a park and getting in line, and seeing something, people laughing in the same room. And that's still very special, especially now these times when there's so much information and you can easily be in your own echo chamber. You're out and you're with a group of people, and you're gonna see, like, for comedians, I think it's an interesting time. It's like they look at us that, well, make sense of the world for us. What the heck do you think about this? And I think if we could all laugh at it, it's a way to bring people together, and it's a way to take the differences that the perceptions of differences, and realize we're not really, our differences are very minute.
I'm abandoning the one-word thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll just go straight to a multi-word question.
Yeah.
One of your shirts, free speech. Tell me about that.
Well, free speech is the bedrock of our freedom, of our foundation of government, really. I mean, it is the beacon call for freedom in the world. Is, you know, our founding fathers could have easily made it third or fourth or fifth or 10th free speech, but they made it first, before guns. Guns is there to protect the free speech just in case. But free speech, they realized, is the real weapon against tyranny. And the idea is who is going to decide what speech? If the government's going to decide what speech is okay, then they're always going to pick speech that protects them, that benefits government policy. So it's really important that the people decide. And that's why free speech is all speech. It's the nice stuff doesn't need protection. It's the stuff that's not nice. And it's much better to hear it than have it be suppressed, so that individuals can decide what it is.
One of your shirts was, it's not just the stuff you like, free speech is
yeah.
the stuff you don't like too.
Yeah, free speech is the stuff you don't like. If free speech means anything, it's a right for me to say something tonight in Bakersfield that could piss people off. But that's free speech. But the way to do it, though, for me, is to do it to get laughs, to not be mean-spirited, and to do things that can, I think, broaden the conversation. Because as my friend Charlie Kirk, who was such a beautiful, brilliant man, and he's been much maligned, and falsely so, but his main point was, when the conversations stop, that's when the violence begins. So we must keep conversations going. And so my part tonight is conversation with humor, so that you can get to people. I think you could subvert people to your point of view through humor than doing anything else. So, and it's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful place, and I want to thank all the 1,000+ people who are coming to see me on their Friday night.
You sent something the other day, and I don't remember what it was, but it was something about audience attention spans.
Yes, well, I will say that like Instagram and Netflix, there's a 30-second time frame. when I was talking to Netflix about a movie, they really told me, they said, they give 30 seconds to 3 minutes. That's it. So you got to hook them in and get them to watch. Now, it's different when they come see a live show, but even at a live show, you got to keep the things moving and tight and keep them entertained. So it's different, but it's a dichotomy because there's two ends to this. One thing is people are looking at entertainment like this on Instagram. I got 3 million people on Instagram, and you can actually see how long they're watching. It's got an average. But at the same time, so you have people really quickly just absorbing stuff and just, you know, I guess the term is death scrolling. And then there's also the opposite. People will come tonight to see a 2-hour show. I'll do a 2-hour show tonight. And then you have like a 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast that people will listen to. So it's both. So I think you want to get people to come in and hook them so that they'll want to see more. But there is that, you got to remember that you're there to entertain and that you're there so people can have a good laugh. Shock them in a good way. You know, they're safely shocked. When they see me calmly saying things that may jolt them a little bit, whether we're talking about Somalia tonight, the Leering Center in Minnesota, and we're talking about, you know, President Trump blowing up boats outside of Venezuela. There's some crazy stuff happening. And people come to me, you know, they come to the shows and see comedians and go like, what do you think about all this? And that's my job, is to make them laugh at it and let them know that they're not so crazy. This is stuff that we should be laughing at.
Before you just said that, I seriously was going to ask you next about Greenland.
Yes, well, Greenland, I would just tell the people of Greenland, like, what are you so upset about? You know, no one's talking about you being the 51st state. That's going to be Canada. You're going to be the 52nd state. So just right there, you get it, you know. But the thing about it, if you do the research, and even the president, there's a treaty from 1957, if you look at it, that was from World War II era, that there's 17 bases, and it's an open-ended treaty. We can go back anytime we want. You didn't need to have all this kerfuffle, and you didn't. So, but he does. He lives in the drama, I think. And I would just tell people, like, turn down the volume, watch the policy, and I think he drives people nuts. He just does. He has a tendency. I think he thrives on it. I don't know if it's if he's doing it on purpose. Maybe he is. But this country needs two normal, sane parties. And you had a party that was going off and with the open borders and crazy, and you have another party now that seems that we need to have some middle ground there. That's why we get two parties. China, you get one. America, two. We're double China, basically. So I think like in California, you get basically one, a super majority. And you can see that the people in Bakersfield don't enjoy that super majority. And so tonight, you know, we'll make fun of Newsom. And thankfully, he's made it easy to do. When he said mask up between bites, I went, whoa. When he was arresting people in the ocean on paddleboards, I went like, wow, this guy. And then he gets reelected. So I just think California, they used to make fun of people in the South for having that kind of twang. Now people everywhere in America, they make fun of California. So it's, you know, it's like the U-Haul Salesman of the Year, Gavin Newsom. But at the same time, you look at California. I woke up this morning in California, and it is so stunningly beautiful. It's worth masking up between bites. It's worth giving all your money for taxes so that they end up on trains that never get built and homeless people that never get homed. It's really worth it because it's that beautiful. So you have to, it is the trade-off that people are willing to trade off. It's still the most beautiful place in the world to live. You can't deny that. And for the people in Bakersfield I promise you we're going to have a great laugh tonight. Well, you know what? I've been able to make a bunch of movies. I was lucky because I made Deuce Bigalow for Disney. Can you imagine Disney making another movie, you know, like Freak, Behemoth, Keep It in the Circus, about a man whore? That'll never happen again. I was lucky. I was in that just little bubble of an area, And we got to make that. I got to make The Hot Chick, which was a fun movie, about a 35-year-old man in a teenager girl's body. That should never have been made. But we made it. It was a little, and so people saw these things. It's very nice because people saw it when they were kids, and now they have kids, and now they're seeing these movies. So it's fun. And
Like the Jimmy Stewart of your era.
Jimmy Stewart. I got to play fun things, and with Adam Sandler, he had me play every ethnicity you can imagine. From a Hawaiian to an Arab to this one's my good eye. Get your brother out of the dishwasher. So we would just play and do things. We didn't think much about it, and really, we were just trying to make each other laugh. And so I would do things in scenes to make him laugh, and then he'd put it in the movie. And then I go, I didn't know you were going to put that in the movie, because in 50 First Dates, I have a joint, and just to make him laugh, I walked away and I put it in my crack, at the top of my, and then I'm watching the premiere, and I go, you kept it in the movie? Why is it? It was funny. I had to put it in the movie. What am I going to do? You did it. So, but we've been having fun. And we're going to do Grown Ups 3 this summer. So while we still can, but I want to tell you about this beautiful movie theater. Up at the top there, they still have the original projectors, the more modern original projectors, which they had to be two, because you'd have one reel that would go for the first reel, and then you'd have this other that would go for the second. And they used to have this term called deliver it wet. In other words, they would print these things the weekend before, and then they'd ship them out to the theaters. Wet, meaning that the celluloid, the film, was wet, basically. And then it would only work about maybe 200 showings. And then that's how cheap the celluloid, the film was, that they made it on. The cheapest film stock imaginable. Because why are they going to spend money? They're just going to show it 200 times, you throw it away. You keep the original negative. And so you have it there. But I remember being a little kid, and you'd see the thing melting. Sometimes it would get stuck, and the projection would get stuck, and then the film would, and you'd see it kind of burning because it was a very hot light. Originally candle, but then a hot light, and it would melt the thing. And then the guy, the 19-year-old kid up in the projectionist, would have to take this big roll. I'm sorry, hang on a second. He'd take it in the back, and they still have the splicing machines, where you'd cut it where it burned, where it melted. You cut the other side, and you put a splice together. It's 24 frames per second, and so that would be basically a quarter of a second, and then you put it back in.
There's a little hop, in the.
But very little of a hop, yeah. There's also this wonderful thing that they still have in some movies. You see it, it's a little flash that just the projectionist can see. Time to get the other reel ready, load it up. And that's what they used to do. And if you watch some of these old movies, you'll see a little flash. So it's a beautiful thing. So
You're not just being like friendly and community-minded and patronizing or any of that stuff. You really love this stuff.
I do. Well, it's a dream. To me, it was the movies were magic. I remember seeing movies as a kid in the movie theater, and the movie would end, and I wouldn't even know where I was or who I was. I was just in that movie. There's the most beautiful word in the English language to me is enthrall. You're enthralled to this thing. You're taken, and it's godlike, and it's this mysterious, wonderful playground. And it's a great, wonderful thing for children and for adults. The adults tonight who turn on and allow themselves to just play and play with me and go with it. It's beautiful. It's still magical. But to still have this theater and to have this many people in one room, it is magic. There's something it's that you just can never repeat. But having a live performance and something happening right in front of you is very special. And if people come in with that intention to have a good time.
If you go to a live comedy show, maybe you've never been to a live comedy show, what are the 5 things, or 3 or whatever?
I will tell you, I give a warning now.
Yeah.
I do. And I didn't have to, but it was, 5 years ago when the politics became very angry. To me, it's the more, not necessarily confrontational, but the more, it's not negatively adversarial, but you have to be a contrarian to be a comedian. You have to challenge people's certainties and, and make them uncomfortable. And like tonight I will. Tonight I talk about the idea of women voting and, and repealing the 19th Amendment. But I give a case for it. But you have to do it to make people laugh, but it's uncomfortable. But there was a time 4 or 5 years ago where people would get so upset and they'd get up and they'd yell at you whenever. And I told my friend John Cleese, who's a really liberal. I mean, he's out there. And I said, you know, John, I got like 30 people walk out last night. And he said, Rob, you should give a warning before your shows. And I said, what do you mean? Like, say, you know, for those of you who are trapped in your own political echo chamber, for those who are exceptionally sensitive, for those people who, when hearing other people, well, hearing ideas separate than their own, may cause their emotional collapse, this may not be the show for you. And so I changed it a little bit, and but that's what I do for shows, to remind people, listen, hey, boy, this is a comedy show, just let it know, and just prepare them, because it's true, people have become very arched in their political leanings, where they don't feel receptive enough. And that has changed dramatically.
And you're not just talking about off-color stuff. You're talking about...
I'm just talking about any ideas, that, yeah, sensitivities, and I think I am a free, I'm going to say, I'm an equal opportunity abuser in the sense of I'll make fun of everybody. And I think you have to. I think the idea of like, I'll talk about the Minnesota, you know, the riots right now. They're not as, the Democrats would love it to be as popular as the George Floyd riots and, you know, really, you know, shake things up and everything. But they're not. And they said because black people don't like the cold. It's too cold, so they're not going out and rioting. It's too cold. And it's because it's too cold. You know? And so he said, you got to do this stuff in the summertime. You got to wait it up. So, but it's, you know, you get to the idea and then show the ridiculousness of it. And coming from a place that's not attacking anybody, but from a place of absurdity. And then if you get there from a place of just silly, and silly's always the king. If I can get them to laugh and be silly about stuff, then it's okay. If you're trying to like make somebody feel bad or hurt somebody, that's different. And it's like, to me, if I ever make that error, you know, that's a mistake. And so you know, when people yell out, I go, what? And we have a conversation, you know, because I feel everything's a potential show that we go, and nothing's off limits. But being mean to people, being mean-spirited, or picking on people that, in a way where I'm not trying to bring people together or show some absurdity, I don't think that's fair. So I think you have to be, you know, like I said, fair and equally go after everybody, but do it from a place of love. I mean, truthfully, I love this amazing culture. I love the idea of free speech. I love that if we're going to have a free culture, if you're going to be completely free, it's going to be chaotic. If you want more freedom, more chaos. You want less freedom, more tyranny. You know, so you want to have what we have here in America. It ain't perfect, but we have to be careful of the people who are coming in that are not, they're bad faith actors. You come in with good faith. We have to find a place of agreement. We have to be disagreeable, but we still have to be a community that can disagree peacefully and find a forum for that disagreement. And that's really important. And we're starting to stretch outside of that, where it becomes violent. And that was the thing that Charlie Kirk, a real friend to this country, and a beautiful man who's been unfairly maligned. And he was like, we have to keep the conversations, because when the conversations end, that's when the violence begins. And he was so right about that. And he gave his life for people to have conversations. I mean, he did, for young people to listen to them, and he put the microphone down and let them talk.
Rob Schneider was killed. You were critical of some of the reaction.
Hey, listen, I mean, I think I can be completely disagree with people, but we have to have our basic humanity. And Rob Reiner was a terrific, wonderful director, a terrific comic actor, and his contribution to our culture is significant and needs to be honored. And so, you know, and I thought with the president, who I'm a supporter of, I thought that was a moment where we could bring people together and go like, he wasn't a fan of mine, but I was a fan of his. I wish he would have said that. And I think it's important that, you know, for both sides, we only get two parties. And there's not like somebody's 100% liberal or 100% conservative. We're one country, and we have to be able to disagree. We also have to be able to stand up when someone is being maligned and someone deservedly should be honored that we've lost in a tragic, horrible way. And I thought the remarks were regrettable that our president made. And it's just, that's what happens when you have Twitter. You know, and it's like at 3 o'clock in the morning, send, You know, it's like, what? We need Twitter filter. Do you really want to say that? What do you think? You want to wait? Want to wait a little bit? What if we change it to this? So I will say that we finally have a president who just does not give a darn. He's out there. But at the same time, you really get a sense when you ever spend time with him, he loves this country. He really wants to be known as an amazing, great president. That's really his desire. And if you think about it, the narcissism and the megalomaniacal thing behind that is like, oh, he loves this country. Oh, he wants Americans to do well. Oh, but you have to get to that. And a lot of people, it's hard to get to that because they're just looking at the tweet. But if you ever spend a one-on-one time with him, as Bill Maher did, who has been a critic of the president forever, he realized there's a human being in there. And sometimes the bombasticness of it and the fact that, like, look, he got shot in the face. They tried to put him in jail for the rest of his life. So he has letting things go and grudges, you can understand it. And thankfully, I believe he has he has the best intentions for this country. How he gets there, I don't always agree with. But I believe he loves this country and wants to make it better for everybody. And it's not necessarily as obvious for some people, and some people just won't listen at all because it's the tone. It's what he's saying. I would say, stop listening, watch the policy, see what the policy is, don't listen. Don't turn the volume down, don't listen to what he's saying, see what the policy is. And I ask that. But at the same time, he has provided great potential for comedy so that I can continue to keep my habit of eating and sleeping indoors.
We need to let you go, or else we'll overlap with your actual show. But,
Yeah.
but pretend just for a second that you would care about winning an Oscar, just for fun.
I'm not in that business. I'm not in that. What I would say if I ever won an Oscar was like, I would say, they are doing something important. They are. I just thought this was self-congratulatory, and they were all just using something to pat themselves on the back. But this is important, finally. No, I respect the form of acting, and like Adam Sandler, who may get nominated this time. And we've always known he's a great actor, all his friends and everything. But the thing about what acting able to do is they don't realize, like, comedy's the hardest. Drama is easier. It just is. Because I was with John Cleese, and who's mad at me right now. He said, so what is your friend Adam Sandler doing? I said, he's doing these dramas because, and he said, the word you're looking for is because it's easier. Easier. And dramas, if you're going for a comedy, you're going for a drama, how were you affected? Did it make you cry, make you laugh? Yeah, it was an interesting story. But if you're trying to make people laugh and you don't, then you look like an idiot. So it is more difficult. But Adam's a great actor, and the thing about a good actor like Adam Sandler and George Clooney and these, and just actors, their ability, and Jim Carrey, God bless Jim Carrey, Jack Black. I mean, we have a plethora, Ben Stiller. We have a plethora of tremendous, beautiful comedians who can expose universal truths that we could all relate to. We don't have to suffer the pain of what Adam Sandler and Ben Stiller and Jack Black go through, but we can all relate and we can laugh through them. And that's a beautiful thing that this theater, for the 100 years in its existence, was able to show, from Charlie Chaplin, to Fatty Arbuckle, to the Marx Brothers, all that stuff, we're still stealing from them. Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello. So being able to be in this beautiful theater in Bakersfield, to be just on the same stage in the same place where they had those beautiful movies is an honor. So I hope to make people laugh like the great comedy heroes of the past.
Well, the world is waiting for you, so I'm going to...
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for